It is late afternoon, the sun is in our eyes, and we're going to try and do the best for the moment. But we got asked to do a van tour and to explain kind of why we did some of the things that we did with our van build. And so here we are.
Yep.
This is Vanimal.
Yep.
Our 2017 Ford Transit 350 XLT. We bought it used. It was a rental vehicle, 15-passenger van. The day that we got it, we ripped out 10 of the seats, and if you need some seats, we'll make you a good deal.
Yeah.
But now we've modified it the way we wanted to, and we've got some other things that we want to change. So first off, our reason for doing this was not to live in. So this is not a van that is all set up to live in or anything like that. This was strictly a vehicle for us to go mountain biking and be able to sleep and spend the night in, and we've been doing that successfully. Over the summer we took a 6-week trip to the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia and learned a lot about the van. We did a 3-week build out beforehand, got it to where we could use it, and now we've got some modifications. So we'll talk about those modifications now, but let's go ahead and get started.
Yep.
Okay, so some of the reasoning behind what we did. So first off, Owen needed seats with seat belts, preferably shoulder harnesses. So going with a 15-passenger van gave us seats that were already set up and ready to go. The tricky bit came with how do we remove seats, and then there's all these little square holes, and then we've got to put floor down and all that kind of stuff. So what we did was we took and put a thin piece of plywood down, cut out the holes that we needed for both the floor heat vents and the seat mounts, and then put down some really inexpensive laminate flooring. This looks like tongue and groove wood, and you snap it together. It's real inexpensive. Costs like $1.68 a square foot. We ended up using about 2.5 boxes, or actually just 2 boxes. We have a third box in case we need to replace anything or we do any expansion later on. And then we put the plastic molding bits back down. I think what we'll do at some point is we'll get rid of those and do wood, but for now it all works and everything's good. Over the summer trip, we actually had a triple-seater here. Against Owen's insistence, Owen thought that we just needed 2 seats. We thought we needed 3. Turns out Owen was right. Yeah, so the 13-year-old, you got to listen to him every now and then. Moving back, we have the countertop. So one of the things that Golden wanted was she wanted a kind of a place to prepare food, sort of like a kitchen area. We don't have a sink yet, but what I did was I bought an unfinished kitchen cabinet from Lowe's Hardware, and then used that to base all the rest of the dimensions off of the wood frame that I built. And it just worked out perfectly that our cooler fit right at where the wheel well is for the van and has clearance. It's a little bit shorter in depth than the kitchen cabinet, so everything worked out. Nothing sticks out too far. That's all good. That provided a place for us to put our camp stove, and we also used this for food storage. We had a table here, but now we've moved it to here. So it worked out really well. But one of the things that we learned was we really wanted to sink. So our next step is going to be we're going to put a sink here. The reason why this space has been freed up is because we actually moved our Goal Zero solar generator. It did live down here, and we were trickle charging it off of the battery rather than having a solar panel installed. We just didn't have time before we left for our trip to install the solar panel, drill a hole, and all that good stuff. Turns out that it was a lot easier to do than I thought, and I could have knocked it out, but we just didn't feel comfortable drilling a hole in the roof of the van before leaving for a big trip. So now we've actually installed the solar panel up on the roof, and the Goal Zero has moved here. It's now being charged constantly by the solar panel rather than trickle charged but from the battery, which is a really nice thing. And so yeah, we just moved it underneath the bench seat slash fold out bed. This also served as storage for our gear, so this is where we keep our clothes in these little soft-sided bits here, and they fit pretty perfectly. Just a little fiddly, but not bad. And then these are the original floor vents for the heat, and just left them in place. One of the other reasons why we wanted to go with a passenger van was that this does have a full side curtain airbag front to back. However, that runs into the problem of next things that we're going to be doing is installing a central roof fan here. And so we've got to start figuring out what we're going to do with this headliner. The headliner is going to go away, but not right now. Eventually, it won't be there anymore. We'll have to redo these vents. This is the air conditioning vent. And then the side curtain airbag is underneath this. There is a way to remove the side curtain airbag and not have it throw an error code into the computer. There are these little airbag simulators that you plug in, and that fools the computer into thinking that there's no problem with the airbag and that everything's good, even though there's no airbag there. We will be removing the airbags probably from the passenger side, but not from the driver's side, but we're not sure yet. That's still a work in progress. We've got the helmet door hooks, but headroom and the bench is kind of an issue, so we're probably going to be redoing our helmet storage and how we do that, and then redoing our garage area slash bike work area. So coming back all the way to the back, we installed these shoe holders, excuse me, and just drilled them into the molding. And this is where we keep miscellaneous bike gear, things like sunscreen, emergency toilet kit, lights, plus a bunch of bike parts and insect repellent. And then on this side, this is where we actually keep shoes and gloves, glasses, things like that, things that we need for riding. So this helps provide a lot more organization to everything. This is also where we keep the work stand, tools, truing stand, miscellaneous tools, and some stuff like brake fluid and stuff like that that we didn't want to be randomly out. We wanted it to be more protected. Plus our leveling blocks, so this allows us to level things so that we can sleep more properly. So over the summer, we actually were using a Tepui 3-man roof tent and deploying that every night, which is really nice. But when we got back and we were going to put the solar panel in, there's just not enough real estate on top of the van to put a solar panel plus the Tepui plus the fan. Like, we were just running out of room, so we had to get rid of the Tepui and convert this to something that we could all sleep in constantly. So this bench, actually, we made these cushions pretty simply. You can buy the foam online in sizes that kind of meet the needs that you have. We bought one size of cushion foam and then cut it just using a knife. It's pretty simple. And then I sewed, not well, but functionally, this waterproof outdoor fabric that we picked up from Walmart. And it was inexpensive, fairly easy to sew. There's a lot of patterns online about how to sew this sort of simple box type of cushion cover. And so we did that. And then these guys actually go on this bench. So we wanted something that we could sit on, but that we could also pull out to be a bed. And I kind of came up with this idea, looked at a bunch of different stuff online. And one thing that I found online that was kind of cool was this, can't remember what the guy called it, but it was aluminum and it came from a specific van life store. And it was about $750 for an 8-foot rail. And looking at it, I thought, you know, that looks a lot like B-channel that you can get at the hardware store. So the nice thing is this B-channel piece, which is metal, actually this is what's bolted to the holes in the metal of the van. And then this piece is just bolted into the B-channel. And what this allows me to do is I can actually pull these 3 bolts and remove this entire bench, and nothing else is holding it in, but it's held to the frame, which is really, really nice. So this bench,
do you need my help pulling it out?
no, I got it.
You're gonna have to hop up on top of it to
This
pull it
bench slides out like this, and these cushions are the exact size for the bed here and here. And then this is where Golden and I can sleep. Over the summer, this is where Owen slept, but it's the perfect size for Golden and I. So nice benefits of being fairly small people is we fit in fairly small places, and we don't have to take up a lot of space in the van. We wanted some privacy, so blackout curtains, blackout fabric is pretty cheap. Get it on Amazon, just sewed up something simple, just basically stitched it with a place for you to put the curtain rod. And then the curtain rod, these are just inexpensive curtain rods from Lowe's Hardware. And these are those command strip hooks. And by doing them opposing like this, I made it so that this can't jump out. Real cheap, simple, and effective. It works. Whenever we got rid of the tepui, the question became, well, where does Owen sleep? And we thought, well, Owen could sleep on the countertop, and then we were like, well, he's going to roll over and fall on us in the middle of the night, and he talks, and there's all kinds of bad things about that kid sleeping. So we wanted him to be in a cocoon that he couldn't escape easily. And he likes sleeping in a hammock, so...
Yeah, I sleep in one every night.
So what we needed to do was find some fixed anchor points that we could put so that the hammock would stretch across, he could get in it, but it didn't touch this. And
It was a challenge.
it was a challenge, yeah, for sure.
Because hammocks stretch.
Hammock stretch and sag and all that good stuff, but we finally figured it out. So there were these holes in the headliner already where a little plug went. We expanded that hole and then used a eye bolt with a toggle bolt head, and with a lot of modification and finagling and really shoving it in there, we finally got it to where it bit and tightened it down, and we have these nice fixed anchor points that we can use to anchor both ends of the hammock, and Owen can sleep in the hammock. Conversely, because he's sleeping in a hammock, if we're camping somewhere nice, he can just put his hammock outside. So it works really well, and it gives a great solution for if we're just trying to like bed down somewhere really quickly for the night. Everybody's got a place to sleep. But if we're camping somewhere more long term, he can put the hammock out. He's happy, we're happy, everybody's good, and we're a lot more streamlined than we were whenever we had the tepui on top. So the tepui, great, super comfortable, but definitely knocks about 2.5 miles per gallon off the gas mileage. And when you're in a big, medium roof, high square box going down the highway, whenever you knock another 2.5 miles per gallon off, that definitely adds up pretty quickly.
And then also it took like 10 minutes off of setup time for camp.
Yeah, so now when we pull in somewhere, it's like, boom, we can just set up everything and it's all good. The one problem, though, is that Owen sleeps here, and so whenever we want to have coffee in the morning, we've got to get him rousted and out and wake him up and get him moving before we can have coffee. We have gotten a lot of, let's say, negative kind of responses about having a Goal Zero solar generator. And a lot of the responses come around about, you can do it a lot cheaper if you do all the wiring yourself. True, no disputing that. However, the reason why we went with the Goal Zero is we live in North Carolina. North Carolina has these things called hurricanes. And hurricanes can and do knock power out for several days. By going with the Goal Zero, it's constantly being charged by the solar panel, and we bought the extra kit that actually serves as a circuit breaker, and we run 4 circuits from our circuit breaker in our house into it, the 4 things that we think are the most important. And whenever we lose power, we can take the Goal Zero out of the van, put it in the house, connect it to the circuit breaker, and we have power. So that was why we went with the Goal Zero. We wouldn't have been able to do that had we just gone with a lead acid battery system that worked in the van and the van only. Not taking anything away from that, and probably if I were doing a full van that I was going to be living in, that's the way I would go. But this was a good solution for what we had, and we got double duty out of it with the house. So that's the reasoning behind that. Other than that, if you have any questions, if there's anything that you think we could do differently or better, by all means, we're all ears, because just like practically everybody else who does this, we're just doing it, kind of winging it ourselves, figuring out what works and what doesn't, and modifying as we go. Remember that the biggest thing with vans is that they have to work for what you want them for. You see, all these vans that are super awesome and they're super nice and they're nicer than my house, however, that's not what we need it for. We're not trying to live in it. We're just a family of dirtbag mountain bikers that wants to go mountain biking and stay somewhere that's got awesome trails. And this was our solution for it. We're going to modify and make things better over time, like getting a refrigerator, putting in a sink, and a few other things. But this is where we're at, and we'll be working on it as we go. Awesome. Glad you liked this, and if you don't mind, we would love it if you would subscribe, share this video, and again, if you have questions, hit us up down at the bottom, and don't forget, get rad every day.